What is up, everybody? Welcome on into the First Round Fantasy Podcast. I am your host, Jacob Bartley, and I'm joined today by Gabriel Miramontes and Justin Morsaz. What's going on, Justin? How you doing, man? Do you know how much time we have now until the season starts?
8 days.
Yeah.
8 days.
It was almost a trick question because we've been shooting on Thursday every week for like the past 3 weeks. And I keep thinking it's Thursday because I was used to that, but it's actually Wednesday. So we do have 8 days until the NFL season starts. Can't wait for that. It's going to be awesome.
So soon.
Gabe, how you doing, man? Welcome back. You took a few weeks away. You excited for football?
Of course I'm excited for football, man. This is the time of the year where I forget about work, even though I'm not allowed to. And, I can't. It's just, of course I'm excited, dude. And I'm good. I'm happy to be back. I've seen you guys holding down the fort while I've been gone, and you haven't skipped a beat, man. It looks excellent. Sounds excellent.
Nice.
The wide receiver guru himself and whatever Jacob dignifies himself as.
I'm just the glue, man. I'm just the glue. Hold it all together. Yes, so today we're doing what I titled our Ride or Die Underdogs show. And this is an idea I came up with that I want to do every year. And we'll talk about that in depth in a minute here. But I do want to talk about something else. So this year, I came up with this really cool idea of something that I wanted to do, and that's a trade evaluation form. Now, that is something it's ran through Google Forms that any fantasy player from anywhere, as long as they have the link, they can submit a Google form to us, and I'll go ahead and share what it looks like here. And it basically, it's a version of submitting trade questions, but we get all the in-depth information that we need. My inspiration for this was that I would listen to other fantasy shows, and viewers would submit questions like, hey, should I trade, Todd Gurley for Amari Cooper? And it's like, well, and the people analyzing it would say, well, I don't know the rest of your team. I don't know if it's PPR. Are we talking dynasty or redraft? And a lot of those questions wouldn't get answered because, or they would give very vague answers because they didn't know the other information. So on here, you can put your name. It's optional or not. We ask trading for, trading away, your current roster or your team needs, and whether it's PPR, half PPR, other, if it's a quarterback, 2 quarterback, super flex, and what are the other stats, league type, league size, how many passing touchdowns for the quarterback. So when you submit one of these, we'll get them throughout the week when we're podcasting. And then at the end of the show, if we have only one, we'll go over that one. If we have 5, we'll choose 1 or 2 of the best ones that we think are good options for there. If it gets to a point where we're getting like 20 a week, we'll just do a whole other show where we just talk about those trade forms. So I hope it gets to that point. That would be awesome. So if you have any trade questions for us, you could submit this to us. And even us show members could sneakily submit one and leave an anonymous name at the top, and you never know who it was. So we can get that going too if we wanted to. So yes, go ahead. The link for this form is in the description of this video. It's also on our Twitter. You can go find it there. And I'm also going to retweet it at my Twitter account at JacobFRF Sports. And I'm sure Gabe will retweet it as well. Justin does not have a Twitter.
Oh my gosh. Get with it.
I sent the pigeons out.
Yeah, that's what Justin does. They're going to drop a little note in all your doors. Can they be owls? Why pigeons, Justin? Come on.
Dude, they're the carriers, man. Game of Thrones.
You're right. But yeah, find that link somewhere. Submit us a trade, and we will definitely go over that live on the show. So that could be a lot of fun. I can't wait till we start getting some of those in. Also, really quick news rundown. We're not going to talk about these in depth because I want to spend most of this episode on our picks. But as most people listening know, obviously J.K. Dobbins is out for the season with a torn ACL, maybe even more injuries. Gus Edwards' ADP is on the rise. He's looking like possible high-end RB2, maybe an RB1, depending on if they add somebody, how that shakes out. We got Mac Jones has been named the starter in New England, and Cam Newton has been cut. And sorry, Justin, Irv Smith is out 4 to 6 months. They went ahead and got that surgery done for him. And that means the Vikings traded for the almighty Chris Herndon, who we've all enjoyed speculating hype about over the years. So that's our basic news rundown for today. Justin, man, that hurts, right? As a Vikings fan.
Yeah, I've been talking him up for a couple weeks, and
We just did our tight end video last week, and where'd you have him in the top 10?
Did I? Yeah. I mean, he was poised for a breakout, and we needed it as tight end. So, really hurts as a Viking fan and as a fantasy player to see that happen.
Yeah, it definitely does suck. But yeah, if you have any thoughts on those news stories and you have any questions about those, let us know in the comment section. We'll be glad to answer that if you do leave a question for us. But until then, we're going to get to our ride or die underdogs. And basically, my thinking behind this was, we all have every year we each have these guys that we believe in their situation. We believe in the player. We believe in their talent. But maybe the rest of the fantasy community doesn't agree with you, or their ADP is a lot lower than you think it should be. And then over the weeks, over the months, you start to build this, love for this player, and you're like, okay, this is my dude. And that can be a running back, a quarterback, a wide receiver, or a tight end. So we actually submitted 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 tight end each. And basically, we're comparing them to their ADPs. We think, for the most part, these guys are going to outperform their ADPs. So, in turn, the way this helps you as a viewer or a listener, you can look at these players that we're talking about and say, ooh, I can grab this guy a little bit later on in my draft, and maybe somebody else won't be eyeing him at this point. Or you could reach for these players in the necessary spots, whatever you might find necessary. But really quick, before we get to our personal list of mine, Gabe, and Justin's, I do want to read off really quick Joe and DeMont's list. I had everybody on the first round fantasy crew submit a list. So really quick here, we'll go with Joseph's first. And as you saw on the thumbnail, Joseph's quarterback is Tua Tagovailoa. I wish he was here to submit his case, because for the most part, I don't know about Justin, but at least DeMont, Gabe, and I, we're not too high on Tua. Not sure how you feel about Tua, Justin. You have him on a dynasty roster, so
I like him. I don't think he's a gunslinging big time fantasy player. I think if they are hinting to trading for Deshaun Watson, it must not end well for him overall. But I can see him being better than bottom third of the league, so that's a plus.
Yeah, for sure. Gabe, you had something to say there real quick. Have you changed your mind on Tua, maybe?
My mind has changed ever so slightly. I think he's looked really good this preseason. And then there's all this circulating rumors about Deshaun Watson landing in Miami, and I just don't see that happening. The head coach of the Miami Dolphins came out today actually publicly and said that he 100% backs up Tua, backs up his play, and Tua went out on Twitter and then thanked him for that. And I just think that there's a lot there that, like, it was just a really icky situation for a moment because you were scared of the possibility of Deshaun Watson going there. Obviously, you're not scared if Deshaun Watson goes to a team and plays amazing. But for Tua's sake, and I don't think they need to do that. I think, he got a lot of slack last year for coming in, week 8 and then trying that in and out rotation that they had with Ryan Fitzpatrick. This year, he's looked really good in preseason. Year 2, he's got a lot of weapons. I love Jalen Waddle. I'm not saying he's going to be like top 15 or anything, but I could definitely see him being a viable 2 QB option, like top 20.
Absolutely. And I will say that a couple of our QB picks, they might not be for maybe a 10-team redraft league, but if we're talking deeper leagues, in a lot of our leagues, the quarterback scoring is really high. So that means everybody drafts 2 quarterbacks. A lot of times before I even get to draft 1, some people take 2 quarterbacks. So in those type of leagues, or in a super flex league, which we obviously play in a couple. So like a guy like Tua is definitely geared more towards that. Really quick here, let's go. So the rest of Joe's list is Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver, currently ADP's number 23. And by the way, Tua's QB as of yesterday in full PPR is QB 22. Brandon Ayuk is wide receiver 23. T. Higgins on Joe's list is wide receiver 24. Zach Moss in our running back. ADP is RB35, and Trey Sermon ADP is RB31, and then his tight end is Tyler Higbee with an ADP of tight end 13. Now, I will say I didn't restrict any duplications on these lists. I actually encouraged it because if each of us had 2 of the same guy, that just means we could spend more time on that guy. And I will hint, one of Joe's guys is on my list as well, so we'll talk about that. Was there any other players that stand out to you guys on Joe's list that you wanted to touch on real quick?
I don't know the hype on Zach Moss, what he sees. Maybe I missed something, but what's the reason for him over Singletary?
I don't know fully in depth, but I do know for the past couple months, Joe has been high on Zach Moss. I think this one's more of a gut call on his part. Like, I think he just really believes in him. And he's a huge Josh Allen fan. He loves this guy. So I just think he believes in Zach Moss. I have trouble getting behind either of those running backs, but
didn't they bring in Matt Breida? Not saying he's going to do a lot of work, but it's just a crowded
The good thing is that they didn't draft anybody. I thought they were going to draft somebody, one of those top 3 guys, but they didn't.
Interesting.
I'll start with Zach Moss. I'm not sure. I don't really buy the hype. I've told Joe countless times, like, I do like Zach Moss, but I think he's injury prone, as is any player. Any player is capable of getting injured, and I understand that. Zach Moss has been consistently injured over his past 2 seasons. Specifically in the preseason, if you watch those games, Devin Singletary is getting the start over Zach Moss every single time. And what's concerning is that not even that he's getting the start, it's that when Singletary is in, they're not getting any carry. I mean, Singletary was in on 16 snaps on the opening 2 drives for the Buffalo Bills, their last preseason game. They didn't run the ball once. So Josh Allen is going to throw the ball. It's going to be a pass-heavy team. When they do run, I'd like to think Devin Singletary is going to get his little flow, but I don't think it's going to be often as people think it is. This team's not going to run the ball a lot. They paid Josh Allen that kind of money because they want to see him sling it every single Sunday. And Zach Moss and, Devin Singletary, it's just a backfield I want to avoid in general. I don't think they're going to get a lot of work.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I definitely don't think they're going to get a lot of passing down work. And because of that, if you're playing in a PPR league, these guys are irrelevant to me.
Yeah, I pretty much agree for the most part, yeah.
And I wasn't done. I'm taking hot takes to the next level. Brandon Ayuk. Hey, I'm not trying to diss on Brandon Ayuk, but I'm saying there is a 49er that's going to have a rebound season, and that's Deebo Samuel. I just believe that, injuries did him in last year. Brandon Ayuk, the rookie, stepped up, did great. And, the 49ers were riddled with injuries last year, and I understand this. But if everyone's healthy, I think Deebo's the guy there. I like what they do with him. I like how they move him around. And I honestly will probably put money on this, that Deebo has the better fantasy finish this year than Brandon Ayuk. So Joe's got to be here to defend himself on that. But if you guys want to book that down, I'm down. Deebo Samuel, better fantasy finish than Brandon Ayuk.
Sorry, I got choked up on my coffee really quick right there. But I have some things to say about that, but I don't want to waste 30 minutes of Justin's time. So we'll go ahead and move on there. And Brandon Ayuk is not on my list, but I'll wait for Joe so we can maybe book something down.
Oh, wait, I got one more. I got 2 more. I'm talking about all Joe's picks now. Okay, T. Higgins. I like T. Higgins a lot. Say what you want about Jamar Chase, but we'll see how that pans out. And then as for Trey Sermon, guys, if Raheem Mostert is healthy and that is a split backfield, I think I'd rather have Raheem Mostert in the short term. If we're talking dynasty, obviously that switches to Trey Sermon. But, man, Mostert just looks too good and too fast behind that line. And he's going I think he's going a couple of rounds later than Trey Sermon. So I would much rather have the guy at the later value, which is Raheem Mostert.
Well, we shall be talking about that a little bit later because Trey Sermon is also on my list. All righty, if we're done with Joe's list, and by the way, T. Higgins is the first. He might be too expensive at his ADP, or actually he's not. It's not bad, but I would say I want him out of any Bengals wide receiver first off the board if I'm going to take any of them.
The fact that the ADP T. Higgins is behind Ayuk even by 1 is absurd to me. I do not understand where that's coming from. Maybe Jamar Chase devalues him. That's the only reason, but that's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if I guess they don't have a tight end like Kittle there, but just imagine if the Niners added like a Jamar Chase, then everybody would be down on Ayuk too. So I think it is that, but also, look, obviously I'm a Niners fan. Obviously, I love Ayuk, but I don't. There is so much hype on Brandon Ayuk right now. Like everybody loves him. Everybody thinks he's going to blow up this year. So that's just the way it is. Like I'm surprised he's not higher right now in ADP. All right, let's move on to Demont's list. So Demont, I was actually pretty impressed with his list for the most part, especially the wide receivers and running back picks for sure. So Demont has Matthew Stafford at QB. So Matthew Stafford's at QB 10 right now. That's pretty high, but I do think people are still underestimating him. Not with the ADP, but as far as just talking about him and the way I see him go in drafts, like I do think he's not getting as much love as he should. He has Laviska Shenault at wide receiver, ADP of wide receiver 40. He has Corey Davis also at wide receiver with an ADP of 42. He has Damian Harris, running back, ADP RB 28. And then he also has Gus Edwards, ADP number 34. I will say these are ADPs in full PPR as of yesterday, but I do think Damian Harris and Gus Edwards ADPs are going to climb significantly, especially Gus Edwards. But even so, people are ranking Gus Edwards in the 20s. I still think he's a value. I think if they don't add anybody else, I think Gus Edwards needs to be around the 15 to 17 mark. So either way, I do think that's a good value. I love his pick of Corey Davis. Wide receiver 42. That is insane. Especially I don't want to put too much stock into the preseason, but if you see something good, it's not a bad thing to see good things in preseason. Zach Wilson looked really good. He targeted Corey Davis a ton. And even before we ever saw that, we speculated that Corey Davis could be the number one on this offense. So to be wide receiver 42, that is insane to me. And that is a screaming value. So when you're doing your drafts this weekend and you take a lot of running backs at the top, look for guys like Corey Davis, because that's a screaming value. Justin, you got any notables on Demont's list?
Yeah, quickly, Corey Davis. I think the ADP only looks like that because the casuals, and we're trying to get the casuals back to the top.
True.
Anyone who is paying attention knows Corey Davis is going to be some good value. So if you see him in your league, drop to the wide receiver 3-4, pick him up. I love the Shenault pick, and when I get to my list, I was fighting with adding Shenault. I didn't, but I think he's getting some good recognition, and I hope it pans out. I love that idea at wide receiver 40. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. And he also has Logan Thomas at tight end, and that is our other double. Justin also has Logan Thomas at tight end. We'll talk about him when we get to his list. Gabe, did you have any notables on Demont's list?
Yeah, I've been on the Damian Harris hype train for quite some time, and I think Cam Newton being released just solidifies his role with Mac Jones there now that he's going to get work. He's going to get work. He's going to get goal line opportunities again. You're not going to see Mac Jones doing QB sneaks in the end zone or running, whatever they do with Cam Newton. They're not doing that anymore. I think everybody on that offense gets a bump, including Damian Harris. And also keep an eye out for Ramondre Stevenson. Corey Davis, I love it. I picked him up in our Pick 6 keeper league the other day, Jacob, during that draft, and I felt super excited about it.
I wanted him, man. That was a good pickup.
It was a really good pickup, but I also really like Laviska Shenault. I think he's going to be amazing. He's like that super gadget utility guy, and it's kind of funny. Well, it's not funny. I just like him. Matthew Stafford is a little bit of a stretch, but, I mean, hey, he's got weapons, so I'm excited to see what he does with them. And then Gus Edwards, obviously we've talked about that, and Logan Thomas, he's a supreme guy. Ryan Fitzpatrick seems to like him. It's just a matter of if he's going to get the work. Hopefully Ryan Fitzpatrick spreads the ball around.
Dude, what's interesting is the Cam getting booted is probably the best thing any running back that plays under Cam can feel, because I had to pick up Damian because I was feeding for some halfbacks, and I couldn't tell you the amount of goal line opportunities, and he just got overlooked. And because of him being gone, that skyrockets him just strictly based off goal line potential. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to our list. I'll go ahead and
do one at a time.
Well, I think what we should do is
Let's do quarterbacks first, then wide receivers, then running backs.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's do
that'll
that.
be fun.
Yeah, let's do that. So I'll go ahead and go first. So my ride or die underdog for this season is Sam Darnold at the QB position. Now, look, Gabe, this is no secret. Ever since that trade happened, I've been all in on this. And look, it's not that I think Sam Darnold is the most talented quarterback in the world. It's just that he went at very high draft pick. He went to the Jets. He was coached by Adam Gase, and everybody knows the story with players that have left Adam Gase and went on to have success. And that's part of it for sure. And I do think change of scenery, like I bet, can you imagine? He probably felt so scrutinized and so uncomfortable, like just being on the Jets. And then he gets saved by Carolina training for him. Like for him himself, I would feel so just good about it. And earlier, thank you, Aaron Linnell, left a comment for us. Hyper-targeted Corey Davis. Love it. Yeah, he is very hyper-targeted. But yeah, Sam Darnold. Yeah. So look, I think if any player went to this if any quarterback went to this team and got these weapons, if it was another player, I think we'd be talking about it more. Like if this would never happen, but just let's say Tom Brady went to the Panthers, right? We'd be talking about, oh my goodness, look at his weapons that he has. He has DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. They drafted Terrace Marshall. They have Christian McCaffrey. He has elite weapons. If you were to list every NFL team and their running backs and wide receivers as a collective group, Carolina's right up there. So that is not going to hurt. Another thing is their offensive coordinator, his name is Joe Brady. He was the passing coordinator for LSU when Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were on the team, and they had that amazing year. They broke all the records. They won the championship. Joe Burrow won the Heisman. After that season, Joe Brady he was the passing coordinator for Joe Burrow. He gets signed by Carolina, and then he goes on to their offense looked impressive, even though it didn't score a lot of points. They got a lot of yardage and a lot of production out of their wide receivers. We saw all three wide receivers on Carolina last year be in the top 3 or top 25. And also, even though Christian McCaffrey was out, Mike Davis still was putting up RB1 numbers for multiple weeks until he finally broke down. So my point with that is even when Christian McCaffrey comes back, I don't think it's going to take away, hurt anything, because they had Mike Davis playing in a similar-ish role. All these things being considered, I think Sam Darnold is set up for tremendous success. And now, look, this for me is more of a 2-quarterback or weekly fill-in if you need one type of quarterback. But I just think, look, Sam Darnold's QB 32 in ADP. I just think that's way too far down. That means he's literally the last quarterback being drafted who's a starter. So to me, I'd much rather have him than a few other guys near the bottom of the list. So, yeah, my quarterback is Sam Darnold.
Dude, I love that pick. I'll tell you why. Just because he's playing with CMC, it's a boost. Throw a 3-yard chuck to CMC, he runs for 15. That's 15 passing yards.
Exactly, yeah.
That is such a benefit. And I'm not sure their strength of schedule, but I can't imagine it being too difficult as well. And he's got weapons. So beautiful pick. I like going out on a limb like that. Nice recognition.
Yeah, for sure. Gabe, were you talking?
Yeah. You summarized it perfectly, man. They have the weapons there. These are the best weapons he's ever played with. And it's almost like a make or break it year for Sam Darnold. And I think he has the talent to shine through. He's virtually, undrafted right now. So totally take a shot on him. And if you do, and he happens to hit, then you're looking like a man genius. I guess a boy genius. A man, I don't know what you would say. A man genius. A genius. There you go.
Yeah. So, all right, Gabe, let's move on to your QB, Gabe. So how I think we'll do this, I think we'll touch on all 3 of our QBs, and then we'll go through one of each of our running backs and one of each of our wide receivers, and we'll see how much time we have once we get to there. Gabe, so who's your ride or die QB for 2021?
Really quick before I do, I just want to plug our Dr. Pepper sponsor for today. Diet
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper. Diet Dr. Pepper.
Now they're getting free promotion, just like Nike too. I'm wearing too much Nike.
I know, man. We do way too much free promotion
Justin,
on the show for all of our
these
one
people,
viewer. You know,
get them on board. We need some endorsements.
I'll make those calls.
Let's see here. My underdog QB, virtually undrafted right now because he is currently on the bench. I know that this isn't as spectacular as a pick as some people would like to think, because it's obvious the talent that this guy has, and that's Justin Fields, QB for the Chicago Bears. He is undeniably going to start at some point this season. I think it's sooner rather than later. If I had to put my money on it, I'd say it'd definitely be before week 4. But you know what? We could see sometime before week 8, week 9. Who knows? But I would bet that it's definitely before week 4. They play the Rams in week 1 in LA. They probably just want to throw Andy Dalton out there to get butchered so he's not totally embarrassed in his first NFL game, give him some confidence, and then throw him out there. But like I said, the talent's undeniable. He can run easily. He's one of the quickest QBs on the market right now behind Lamar Jackson. To match, he's got an arm like Josh Allen. You put those two together, and he's going to be unstoppable for fantasy. Even if he's shaky in his rookie season, the moment he steps on the field, he becomes an instant top 10 streamable or starting QB for fantasy. You pick him up, you start him out there every week. He's going to get you yards on the ground. He's going to get you yards in the air. And for the most part, I think he's been pretty smart. In preseason, he's been playing a lot, and he's made some pretty smart decisions, and his balls look beautiful, man. Oh, that just sounded weird. The balls that he throws, they have looked great. He's very precise, very accurate. And Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, I can't wait to see what they do with a real quarterback in there. No offense to Andy Dalton. I'm just saying, hey, I think he's on the twilight of his career. He's on the way out, and it's time for the young gun to get his chance, and that is Justin Fields. That's what I got.
Yeah, I like that, man. I think, in a draft where you at least got a couple people that know what they're doing, throw them at the end of your bench. It depends. Like if you drafted, Lamar Jackson or something like that, you don't need Justin Fields. Like draft another flyer at a different position. But if you waited on QB and you took a Matt Ryan or something, I love adding a Justin Fields at the end of my bench.
100%. That was exactly what I was going to say. A Matt Ryan, a Matthew Stafford, those guys that are like those fringe 12-team starters that you're looking for. Throw him there. He'll be there, so you can take him.
All right, Justin, who do you got as your QB for us, man? For your ride or die for 2021?
Mr. Ryan Tannehill with the ADP of 12. I think that's a steal. It's not too far of a reach that both you had, but when I'm talking about if their ADP is the 12th best QB, he's going to fall to the end because no one most likely is going to reach at all. I would be so happy if I sacked quarterback and at the end of the draft I had him available. Dude just added Julio Jones to the mix. You added Julio Jones. I know it's not him of 5 years ago, but if you get to have A.J. Brown and Julio as your 1 and 2, I'm going to eat that all day with no problems. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I would take him over Tom Brady. Even Justin Herbert, I would take him over at this point. Not saying Herbert won't probably be better overall in a year or so, but this year, I know the Titans are playing to win, and I want a piece of that fire. You know what I mean? So for him, easy choice. Him over Stafford, Hurts. He's just money this year for me.
Yeah, you don't add Julio Jones to your team and get worse as a quarterback. He only makes you better, even if he is going into age 31 or 32 season, whatever it is, like you said. He's not his former self, but he's still a presence when he steps on the football field. And that across from A.J. Brown, and then not to mention you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. He's got some of the best weapons in all of football, and they're just going to give him time. He's going to look amazing. And Ryan Tannehill has looked amazing the last 2 years. So don't forget that. He just keeps getting overlooked by all these all-stars. He's looked solid. So don't hesitate on drafting Ryan Tannehill. Good pick, Justin.
On average, I think based off standard scoring, he was 7th overall at the end of season last year. Like
Exactly.
Give me that. Like, I don't expect him to finish near Mahomes or Rodgers, but I'm not drafting him at that position, so that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, Tannehill is definitely still. I think a lot of insiders are aware of that, but again, our audience is the casual fantasy football player, and listen to Justin. Ryan Tannehill is a great value in drafts, and especially we play in a lot of 10-team leagues. You can wait on quarterback, take him a little bit later. You won't be mad that you did. All right, so let's go into wide receiver. So my first wide receiver up. All right, I'm gonna go with Gabriel Davis. I have two, but if we don't have time, I'll definitely want to talk about Gabriel Davis here. He is the second-year wide receiver with the Buffalo Bills, and I watched. I had Stephon Diggs last year in my dynasty league. I don't know why I traded him away since then, but I did, like an idiot. But I watched a lot of Bills games last year because I traded him for Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. So
that was me.
Yeah, to Gabe.
That's a good trade.
And it's in a super flex, so I'm actually glad now because Lamar Jackson is my best quarterback by far, and I don't have a second one until Trey Lance gets his finger fixed or whatever. But but anyways, Gabriel Davis. I watched a lot of Bears games, and he caught my eye. Look, before the season started, I heard when they drafted him, they really liked this guy. I like his size. He's not huge, but he's 6'2". He has nice size. And when John Brown was out last year, he really stepped up, and nobody even realizes this. But Gabriel Davis last year, on 35 catches, he had 599 yards and 7 touchdowns on 35 catches. Every fifth catch was a touchdown. And also, with that low reception and that many yards, his average yard per catch was 17 yards per catch. That is insane. So that means that Josh Allen was looking for him far down the field. And you combine those two things, another year in the system, another year with Josh Allen. I just think this guy has a lot of potential and nobody really talks about him. And look, you have Emmanuel Sanders there. You have Cole Beasley there. I'm not really worried about those guys. Those guys are reliable, dependable. They're going to get theirs. But if I'm taking a flyer that I think can blow up, I'm taking Gabriel Davis. So that is one of my ride or die underdogs for 2021.
I like it because he's wide receiver 68, but I don't think it's going to work out like that because what you mentioned is nice, but I don't think it's scalable. They also brought in Emmanuel Sanders, and I don't think you sign Emmanuel Sanders to let him sit as your wide receiver 4. They also have Beasley there. So it would be a nice surge if he can make a name for himself, but it's somewhat crowded there now as wide receiver. I think everyone's going to get love, but no one's going to make themselves, hey, I'm that wide receiver 2 behind Diggs. I think it's just going to be where Josh Allen analyzes, he throws it to the man that's open and calls it a day,
I agree. And, for the most part, but like it's wide receiver 68. So he's basically going undrafted, right? Unless you play in a really deep league. So
flyer, yeah.
It's a free flyer. You take him, you see how it goes, and it's just a guy to keep your eye on. If one of those receivers goes down, or look, with the COVID situation, you never know when players are going to miss time. So, if one of these guys, and Beasley was there all year and last year, and he still did put up these numbers. So I just think he's the down the field guy, and Sanders and Beasley are going to be more of the short catch PPR guys, and Diggs is going to do Diggs. So,
that's true.
I don't mind. Like, look, I'm not drafting him in a 10-team redraft league, but like you best believe I have him on my dynasty roster. So he's one of my favorite flyers this year. All right, Gabe, who is the wide receiver on your list that you want to talk about?
Yeah, it's second-year wide receiver Jerry Jeudy of the Denver Broncos.
Nice.
I think that the addition, listen, and I'll say this up front, Drew Lock was okay. Teddy Bridgewater will be okay. None of them are great. I do think that Teddy Bridgewater in Denver is a plus for Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant as well, but I'm not talking about him. Specifically talking about Jerry Jeudy, last year I think he led the league in drops, or if he didn't, he was like up there. He had 10 drops last year. He still managed to go 52 receptions, 856 yards, 3 touchdowns. This guy will be peppered by Teddy Bridgewater. And it's almost kind of ironic because I remember last year when Teddy Bridgewater was going to be the QB in Carolina, I personally believed so much in DJ Moore because I thought that he was going to be that guy to line up in the slot, to get peppered with targets, to be that PPR guy. And although DJ Moore was relevant, he was not that guy. He was on the outside with Robbie Anderson, and then the gadget guy, Curtis Samuel. So it was a different type of ball movement there, and the way that DJ Moore was receiving those passes was a little different than I had anticipated. Still very much relevant. Teddy Bridgewater in Denver, I believe, is no different. I think Jerry Jeudy is going to find plenty of ways to get open. 113 targets from Drew Lock last year, and he only caught 52 receptions. That's awful. That's awful.
I think he was like the highest guy who had the least catchable balls or something.
Dang, that's my point.
I don't know the
46% catch rate.
Yeah.
And that's mainly because when Drew Lock throws the ball, you really don't know where it's going. He's highly inaccurate, and it led to a lot of ugly-looking plays. And also, you got to account maybe 3 or 4 of those drops that are accounted for Jerry Jeudy were nearly uncatchable balls that he was at least able to get his hands on. I think that changes with Teddy Bridgewater. He's an accurate QB. He sustained 3 solid wide receivers last year. I know Sutton is coming back from that Achilles injury or ACL, whatever it was, but he's back. He looked good in that preseason game. I'm glad they put him out there. I expect big things from Fant as well. But Jerry Jeudy is the guy. And if we really want to get nitty and gritty, I like Jerry Jeudy more than I like a guy who is another second-year receiver, CeeDee Lamb. I just think that the talent is superior. Both of those guys are superior talents. And I think if any one of them can emerge as a superstar, obviously it's going to be CeeDee Lamb with Dak Prescott. But the second that Denver gets a reliable QB under helm, and who knows, it could be Teddy Bridgewater, Jerry Jeudy is going to look magnificent. Those drops are going to go down. That catch rate is going to go up. I think his targets are going to go up. He had 113 targets last year. I can see him getting at least about 135. And imagine if he catches like 80, 90 balls. It's going to be amazing. 856 yards last year. I can see him top 1,200. And, touchdowns, they're never easy to predict. But if he gets 3, that's great. He's going to be top 20 easy. He's going to be top 15 easy. If he gets 6 touchdowns, that's a top 10 wide receiver right there. And I love everything about Jerry Jeudy. And I'm happy I also got him in my pick 6.
I was going to say, you put your money where your mouth is. You took him in the first round of our 6-keeper league, which is basically like the 7th round. But there were a lot of big names you could have taken. You took him over Javonte Williams,
Well, I was going to compare him to the other wide receiver that was there,
True,
which was Godwin. Chris Godwin and him.
Cooper Kupp was there. T. Higgins was there. Chris Godwin was there. Cooper Kupp was there.
Yeah, let me just
and
pull
you went
this
Jeudy.
up really quick. I'm looking for Godwin going around the 5th round in normal redrafts. And then I took Jeudy. He's going currently – where is he at? He's going a little bit later. Yeah, so he's going about a round later. So I obviously have a higher ceiling in anticipation for Jerry Jeudy, which is why I took him there. And also I think he's going to be undoubtedly the number 1 on his team, where Chris Godwin, he's going to have his up and down weeks. But I like a guy like Antonio Brown there more. But that's a topic for another day. So, yeah, Jerry Jeudy's my wide receiver, and I expect big things from him this year.
Yeah, I love Jeudy, man. I just hope all those things come together, like you said. And again, if Rodgers was there, if Watson was there, and they're starting, I would feel very differently. But nothing to do with him, just the situation and the quarterback. Justin, all right, who do you got for us, man? The wide receiver guru.
I can't just pick one, but I'll make it quick on both.
We'll mention our other ones at the end too. Yeah.
All right. So the most one I'll bring up, since DeMont had Laviscus, I went DJ Shark for probably the same reasons he went Laviscus. Just a better situation, newer offense, much better quarterback. And we saw what he could do 2 years ago, and then it kind of had a really down season. And I think with Lawrence being there, it's just going to be big-time games for that whole offense, hopefully. So I'm down to see what happens when his catches go up and end zone targets increase, because I think their offense will just be better overall. And that's got to translate to him as much as it does Laviscus. So him being the wide receiver 1 gives him the nod over Laviscus for me.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think a lot of the fantasy industry, when I listen to podcasts, they love LaVisca, they hate DJ Chark, and I'm Chark over LaVisca, honestly. And if I'm drafting and I'm on the clock and whatever round they're going in and they're both there, I'm taking DJ Chark. I just think he's going to be the one there. Look, LaVisca is going to be used all around. We have this kind of like, I don't know if it's a new position, but it's like a different kind of wide receiver. If you're talking about like Deebo Samuel, Curtis Samuel, LaVisca Chenault, these gadget type guys who take the jet sweeps, they're kind of like running back hybrids in a way. And those type of guys are going to get a lot of touches manufactured for them. And LaVisca's one of those guys. So his ceiling is very high. But for me, I just think we saw promise from DJ Chark a couple years ago. It just needs to stay healthy. And I think, his new quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, can deliver him the ball frequently and successfully.
The one thing really quick is just that he's a big guy. DJ Shark is big. He's going to catch balls over people. I just like that in a receiver. So, we'll see. I hope they both do really well, and I think they'll both be playable.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, we're going to move on to some running backs, and I'll go first with my running back. And one of my running backs is Trey Sermon. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. Look, I watched a lot of the 49ers preseason, and like I said, can't take much from preseason, but I do think rookies are one thing that you can take from, and they were using him a lot. They cut Wayne Gallman, which bodes well for Trey Sermon. That means they're comfortable with him. And I was listening to like a 49ers insider talk about it, and he was saying that Mostert, they want to keep Mostert fresh all year. So what they're going to do is they're going to let Sermon get a lot of the first, second down carries, and then Mostert is going to be the guy who comes in for the big plays like he's prone to. Basically saying that Mostert is going to get like 12 to 15 touches that are going to be very highly productive, and that Sermon's going to get like 18 touches, but they're going to be those little, runs for 7 yards, runs for 8 yards, run for 6 yards, and they're just going to add up. So I just think volume overall is going to help Trey Sermon. Our offense, I shouldn't say we're trying to be unbiased, but the 49ers offensive line is incredible. And they rush almost more than anybody in the league, and Trey Sermon's going to get a lot of that volume. So I just believe in the player, and I believe in the situation. And if they are, Jeff Wilson Jr. is on the PUP list, and they cut Wayne Gallman. They still got Elijah Mitchell there, but they drafted him a few rounds after Trey Sermon. So, I think a round after. But I just loving the hype. I've liked it since the beginning of since the draft. So. I agree with Joe on Trey Sermon. I think he's definitely being undervalued right now at RB31, which is insane to me. Look, I don't mind Mostert either. I think they're both going to be very usable in fantasy this year. But for me, I just think Mostert scares me because for what it's worth, like I don't want to predict injuries, but he scares me. I don't know if he's going to stay healthy all year. And Trey Sermon does have some college injury history, but I'm going to take the younger guy. I hope he stays healthy. So that's my dude for running back. All right, Gabe, who do you got at running back for us, man?
Whoa. I was going to say nice pick, Jacob.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I think you're right. Anytime you see volume, you want that guy, right? So if what you're reading and what you're hearing is true, then Trey Sermon is obviously a great pick where he's going, and he's going to be a great RB for fantasy. I still love Mostert, and I think Mostert is one of the few guys in the NFL that with limited touches, he can do amazing things.
Agreed.
I think he can turn, 8 or 9 carries into 70 yards and a touchdown, and that's a great flex day. So be ready for things like that. But Trey Sermon, undoubtedly the future in SF, and this year he's a pretty solid pick as well, especially on that run-heavy San Francisco team.
Well, thanks, man. It's rare that we get some nice words from Gabe about the 49ers, so I'll take it.
What are you talking about? I don't discriminate, man. I'm not one of those guys.
All right, Gabe, who is one of your ride or die underdogs for 2021 for running back?
I don't know if you've been watching the doc as the show has progressed, but I've added my other wide receiver and running back. So if we get time, I'll throw those out there as well. But my main running back, he's a guy that I've been hyping up all season long, mainly because he's been hyping himself up. And that is Chase Edmonds, running back for the Arizona Cardinals. listen, I've said my case for Chase Edmonds time and time again, but if you're our only viewer out there and you just happened to miss that episode and didn't catch it back on YouTube, I'll lay it out for you again. The guy rushed 97 times last year. That was up 30 from the year prior. Out goes Kenyon Drake. Insert James Conner. I don't know what it is about James Conner, but he hasn't looked good this preseason. He hasn't really done anything in camp. There's nothing really good to report about James Conner. Everything has been Chase Edmonds. I've said it before, 150 carries. That's a 50 carry uptick from what he had last year. I can see that happening. As far as catching the ball, we don't know just yet. He caught 53 balls last year, which wasn't a doozy. You know, those are great numbers. Can that increase? Sure, maybe 60 balls if you're really thinking about it. I think Kyler is going to run with his legs a little bit more like he usually does, which is why I'm so high on Kyler. Hashtag bold prediction, Kyler Murray, #1 overall fantasy QB, which is what I said last year. Jacob, did I not? So I'm going for the repeat. Going for the repeat. But Chase Edmonds is a guy who, if you follow on Twitter, this pure hype. He is a believer in himself. He believes that this is his prove-it year. He wants that role. He wants that time to shine. And I know for a fact he's going to see an increased workload. I'm not saying it's a lot. 150 carries puts him in RB2 range. What he does with it depends if he's going to finish as an RB1, or I should say a high-end RB2 or a low-end RB2. But 150 carries and 55 balls in PPR, that's already middle-of-the-road RB2. So it's just a matter of what he can do. You know, is he going to scrape by with a few touchdowns with those carries and pass-catching duties? Or is he going to explode after the catch? Is he going to explode on some of those runs? All that matters. And if he does, he can be a high-end RB2, maybe crack RB1. But that's way getting ahead of myself. So I can see him as a high-end RB2 is his ceiling.
Yeah, man. I actually really like Chase Edmonds. In that same keeper league, I had to let him go, but he was probably one of the better running back values that were let out into the draft pool. So he's definitely a steal. And I know, Justin, you liked Edmonds too, right?
I love Edmonds a lot, and I really got sick when I saw Connor get signed where it wasn't a trade. But I think I figured it out what they want to do, and I think Connor is more of a tell for Murray than it is Edmonds, because Edmonds is going to catch the balls. Edmonds is going to be the RB1, but he's going to share. But if you're a coaching staff and management and you see what Kyler does, you're like, dude, we can't let you get hit that much. When we're 1-2 yards out,
and we're going to Kyler came out and said he's tired of getting hit too.
Yeah,
he came out and said that.
So I think Connor's just going to be your vulture, and I don't think he's going to – it's going to sting as an Edmonds owner. It's going to hurt a ceiling, but I don't think it's going to eat too much into it. So I still love Edmonds, but Connor's going to eat a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you mentioned this a few weeks ago, Justin, is like we're not looking for touchdown production from Chase Edmonds. That's not how we expect him. We would love it, you know, but it's not how we're expecting his fantasy points to come.
When Edmonds gets a touchdown, he turns into a fringe RB1. Without it,
exactly.
We'll enjoy his RB2 behavior, you know? So I do love that pick a lot.
Absolutely. Gabe, did you have any last thoughts on Edmonds?
No, because you guys agree with me, so I have nothing else to say. I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be that guy that's going to be used in between the 20s. That means first, second down work. That means third down work for sure, which is what those PPR managers really want. And I just really like the opportunity. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, and honestly, he might be the second pass catching option after Hopkins, to be honest. Like,
there's a world where that happens, but I don't know. We'll have to see what happens.
They brought in AJ Green. What do you mean?
We'll see. Totally. There's a bunch of guys there.
I wanted to clarify. He's currently going as the RB24, which is technically, if you're playing in a 12-man league, that is running back 2 status. So his floor is a running back 2, but I can see him definitely cracking, top, I don't know, what is that, 14, 15, which puts him as a high-end RB2.
Yeah, that would be a steal for sure. All right, Justin, who do you got for us at running back, man?
I think it's going to be the most disputable one between all of us, and that's my man Melvin Gordon.
Ooh, okay, here we go.
I don't give a damn that Javonte Williams got drafted there. I mean, this dude is a fringe RB1 if he could stay consistent and healthy on a decent team, but he's caught himself in a bad situation, and he still did really well with it if you follow the stats. I think the drafting of Javonte is not for this year. It's going to be for future years because Melvin's not a future guy anymore. He's a little bit dated, but it kind of sucks because he's only 28, but that's just how it goes in the NFL. But it's just a guy that I know when he plays, he's going to be a workhorse that gets goal line touches. And an offense with Teddy Bridgewater, they're going to have a lot of red zone opportunities because Teddy doesn't throw for 60-yard bombs. It just doesn't happen. So as they're dinking and diming to get to the end zone, I expect him to get a lot of work there and become a very serviceable guy. What's his ADP right now? What's he going as a halfback? We have him at 29. That's if I can get him as my third RB, I'm gonna be the happiest guy. You guys can draft Trey Sermon. You can draft. I mean, I might take Chase over him. I might. That's close to me. That's how much I like him. But for everyone fading because they drafted a wide receiver, they drafted a running back rookie, by all means, I love it. I love it. And I hate to tell you guys because we're about to draft, but, for the fans, I got to tell them the facts.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the whole point here. Sometimes we all have access to the same information, all right? So it's just how we perceive it. So giving away our guys that we think are value picks is not nothing crazy. It's just, we're doing it for the show. But also, Justin, I've been low on Melvin Gordon. It's not that I avoid him. I just don't draft him because he gets drafted before I'm willing to draft him. But there's a chance you might be right because, look, and I just heard today they cut my phone's trying to talk to me, that they cut Royce Freeman, or they might be cutting Royce Freeman. So,
what?
And Melvin Gordon is on his last contract. So why would they use half of Melvin Gordon when why wouldn't they just get the most out of him on his last deal in his contract with them? So I have a feeling you might be right. And Justin's here, guys, to bring us down to earth because maybe some of us will be too high on some of these rookies. And Justin is the guy who brings us down to earth and say, look, it's a rookie. That doesn't mean, some of these rookies are going to hit big, but it's rare, right? Like we only have a couple each year, so it's, you can't put too much stock into these rookies.
Let me tell you two things. One, Freeman did get cut. Two, do you know what position he finished in PPR last year without looking?
Melvin Gordon?
Yeah.
I know it's like top 20.
For sure, top 20. He was 14th, just an inch behind Antonio Gibson. But if he's getting 29 after finishing top 14, dude, that's a fade I'm willing to buy on as like a 1-round sneak ahead, so no one sees it coming.
They have a really good squad, honestly. If they get the quarterback play right, and look, Teddy Bridgewater, he's known for like checking it down to the running backs, and look at Mike Davis last year. So you could be onto something, Justin. Maybe I'm gonna have to draft Melvin Gordon ahead of you this weekend. We'll see. No, I won't. Don't worry.
You got to reach higher.
You didn't convince me that much, Justin. Don't worry. All right, real quick. We got a few minutes here. Let's do our tight ends really quick. We'll do like a minute each on our tight ends, and then we'll just read the rest of our list, just so everybody knows our full list. So I have Jonnu Smith as my tight end. He's currently tight end 14 right now, and basically my only argument is he started off last year very hot. In the first 5 games last year, he was the number 1 tight end, in which he had 5 touchdowns, 18 catches for 187 yards in the first 5 games. And that was, I believe, through the first 3 or 5 games, he was the tight end 1, at least in half PPR. So, and then he got injured and he was out, and then he came back, and it just was never got back to the same. And Bill Belichick loves him. Mac Jones is the quarterback. I think they're going to use Jonnu Smith like the Washington used Curtis Samuel last year, like the Niners used Debo, kind of like that gadget guy. So I love Jonnu Smith. He's a great value. Gabe, who do you got for us at tight end?
Wait, really quick. I want to be able to conversate, man. I know we only got so
go
much
ahead.
time.
Yeah.
No, I like this. I like the pick. Jonnu Smith. For everything we talked about Mac Jones earlier, how he gives a bump to everybody on that offense. At the same time, I think first and foremost, this team is going to run the ball first down your throat as much as they can. And because of that, you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end sets, which means Hunter Henry and both Jonnu Smith are going to be on the field. I like Jonnu Smith. I'm worried about his volume, but then again, if he's a red zone guy, he's a red zone guy, and his touchdowns will keep him relevant as a tight end. And right now, he's virtually going undrafted, so he's a great underdog pick. I like it.
He's gonna get carries too. He gets carries. Dude, he had carries last year.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. My tight end is a complete dart throw. He's not even really an underdog. It's almost like a deep, deep sleeper. So I just threw him on this list because I feel like when we talk about tight ends, it's undoubtedly that you have to mention the top 4 or 5, right? And we all know who they are. They're the guys that go in the first 3 rounds. I don't even want to say their names. I'm tired of saying them because that tight end position is just so tiring to talk about. But I really wanted to go super, super late. This guy's not going to be drafted at all. He probably won't even be relevant the first few weeks. That's Donald Parham Jr., tight end for the San Diego? No, Los Angeles Chargers. Look at me, stuck in 2018, baby, of the Los Angeles Chargers. There's not a lot to say other than if Jared Cook, 34-year-old tight end who was recently acquired this past offseason, if he happens to go down, you'd have to think that you like the tight end option in a Justin Herbert throwing offense. Big 6'8", Donald Parham, he's that guy. I can see him getting a lot of red zone targets. He got 7 last year, but hey, that's because Hunter Henry was there most of the year. I'm just saying keep him on your radar. He's not really an underdog. He's more of a sleeper. He could not even hit this year. He's a second-year tight end, though. Tight ends usually break out in year 3, so you can easily see me talking about Donald Parham next year.
Absolutely, and we had to get a little bit of dynasty in here, right? That's a great guy to keep your eye on it for dynasty for sure. Justin, who do you got for tight end? And it obviously not Irv Smith anymore.
Nope, not Irv Smith. I'm going with my guy Logan Thomas, similar to DeMont. And I know he's 8, so he's getting drafted, and people are expecting things out of him. But I'm telling you to draft him in the sense that he might finish range 4 or 5 behind the big 3, maybe even ahead of Pitts. We don't know how it's going to work out. The reason I say that is because when it comes to tight end, it's not a huge difference between the middle pack, but I think he can have a chance to separate himself with Fitz. And if you told me, hey, Goff is thrown to Hawkinson, so all right, Thomas is going to be better than him overall. And then Mark Andrews, it's kind of a wild card over there in Baltimore. I'm not a big fan of our Andrews personally over there. But if he finishes ahead of Andrews, all of a sudden he's 4 or 5 tight end after the big 3 and maybe Pitts. So I like drafting for him. If you were to draft him ahead of Hawkinson, it'd be surprising, but the faith is there for me. So I love him as tight end this year.
Yeah, that is definitely a good pick. Any thoughts on that, Gabe?
Yeah, like I said, after the top 5, you choose anyone, there's an argument to be made, and it's just, good pick, Justin. I got nothing.
Yeah, no, and DeMont did have Logan Thomas as well, so that obviously you got some like minds here. All right, really quick, let's just we don't got to explain it, but let's just go ahead and list our full lists for the viewers there, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here. So again, I had Sam Darnold at QB, and I had Gabriel Davis at wide receiver. My other wide receiver was Michael Pittman Jr. I just think he's the only guy to throw to there right now. My running back was Trey Sermon. My other running back is A.J. Dillon, and then my tight end is Jonnu Smith. Gabe, why don't you go ahead and give us your full list there?
We talked about Justin Fields. That's my QB. Great value. Jerry Jeudy, going to be top 10 wide receiver this year. Calling it.
Oh,
I got to talk about my boy Juju Smith-Schuster. He always finds a way into my heart. And
real quick, you said Jeudy top 10. I'll book it down right now.
You know what? Hey, calm down. We can talk about it after the pod. I'd probably go top. Yeah. Well, see, look at me. Why are you calling me out like that?
Hey, look,
I go top 12. I go top 12.
Even
Justin.
top 15 is bold.
Top 12.
You said top 10 though. Okay, top 12. I'll take it.
Let's do it.
I'll book it down.
Juju Smith-Schuster. I love the guy. He's going to be PPR peppered last year, and he's going to be PPR peppered this year. Running back was Chase Edmonds. My other running back is newly acquired Los Angeles Rams running back Sony Michel. I think he emerges as the true back over there in Los Angeles. And then my tight end was Donald Parham Jr.
Nice. All right, Justin, give us your full list, man.
Tannehill as the QB, Shark as the wide receiver. The other wide receiver is Tyler Boyd. I really was having a difficult time between him or Shark, but Jamar Chase, the news hasn't been friendly. Boyd is Boyd. I don't think it's going to hurt him. Very nice sleeper. And then Gordon as my running back, followed by Damian Harris. We spoke about him. And Logan Thomas as my tight end.
Awesome. Looks
Solid.
good. So, yeah, we will definitely revisit these at the end of the year, see which ones we hit on, which ones we didn't. Obviously, if a player gets injured, we'll just ignore that one. But hopefully they all play all year, and we'll be able to see if we hit on those ADPs. Was that an official book it down? Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver 12 or above?
I'll take it.
I mean, it's super, super bold, but I just talked the guy up so much. I'm down to do it.
All right, we'll go ahead.
Realistically, though, I think top 15 is easy.
Yeah.
Look at the goalposts
we'll
keep
see.
moving, 10 to 12 to 15. Whatever you want to call it.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for watching this video. We appreciate it.
Gotta watch my words.
Let us know if you have any questions in the comment section. Again, don't forget, throughout the season, all year long, submit your trade evaluations. You know, it's sometimes you don't know what to do and you're stuck. Should I do this trade? Should I not? Or I'm thinking about doing this trade. Send it our way. Find that link. Check our Twitter for the link. You can check mine or Gabe's Twitter for it as well. You can also just go down in the description of this video and find the link there. Submit us your trade evaluations, and we will talk about them live on the show. Thanks again for watching. For Jacob, for Gabe, for Justin, we will see you guys next time.